see, everybody was sitting here, making sure that I did the Seven Train review. And I did that. I did the Seven Train review. I'm saying, like, I did that. I did what everybody asked for. And, I just asked for people to make sure that they, ring the bell, what I'm saying, give the video a like, make sure you comment, comment all the things that you love about the train and hate about it, all types of crazy ass crap. But then all of a sudden I get these comments that say, do the E review and do the L train review now. Well, guess what? Fuck you, because guess what? I have something better than the both of those combined for the time being right now, and you're gonna love it. Why? Because I'm me. I'm Knuckles. You guys know that. I'm the guy that makes all the crazy ass trains reviews, and I love it. So yeah. What makes this video any different, you ask? Well, this is a video that I'm not really too skilled in, but I gave it a shot anyway. So you're gonna love it because I put nothing but love into the video. Okay, because I'm your boy Knuckles, you already know that. So yeah, so what I came up with was something great. You know what I'm saying? I came up with something that was gonna represent, transit, to the fullest. At least, or give a smidgen of, of greatness into the video making and stuff like that. Give us a smidgen of, like, extra love into the trans community. Because what I did? What I did was I came with something great. I came up with something special, something magical. I came up with the freaking
This here is the 3rd Avenue L, or the 8 train if you will. Now before I begin, I already know somewhere in the distance Uncle Dave is on the floor passed out from the sight of me doing this, so early shout out to him since it's his favorite train. Now I want you guys to know that since this is a line that's no longer with us, this video in itself is a history trip, and there are just going to be images of the 8 scrolling through this video since there's not much material to work with. So with that said, we can get to it. Way back in the day, the 8 started on the lower level of the Gun Hill Road Station on the 2 and the 5 in the Bronx. Yeah, back in the day there was a lower level. It would make its way down 3rd Avenue in the Bronx to 149th Street, meeting with the 2 and the 5 again. After that, it went over the 2nd Avenue Bridge into Manhattan and ran down 2nd Avenue all the way down to Chatham Square. Yeah, City Hall was there as well, and that was closed in 1953. The Chatham Square portion was closed in 1950. Now you can look at this line and tell why the MTA is actually trying to make a comeback with the T being the 2nd Avenue subway, because it's actually the 8. Think back to why the T and the 8 are the same color. Now if you think about it, there is plans to send the T to the Bronx. Just look at the layout for the 2nd Avenue subway if you don't believe me. The T gonna go up 3rd Avenue. Trust. Just wanted to get that out the way. Now the 8 for the longest was known as the shuttle on destination signs on trains. But on maps back in the day, the damn thing said 8. The equipment that the 8 used to use was the gate cars, but when they were modified, they were known as the Mudsea cars, otherwise known as the multiple unit door control cars, the composite cars, BMT Q-type cars, the low V's, and yes, Uncle Dave's favorite, Steinways, were there as well, and the R12s. It's cool that this line got to see an R-type as well, and the 12s got it. Now, on August 26, 1878, the line first opened, running from South Ferry to Grand Central. Service was extended to Harlem December 30th of that year. Service shut down in Manhattan in the early 1950s and closed entirely on May 12, 1955, and ended in the Bronx on April 29, 1973. On top of that, the 3rd Avenue L was the last elevated line to run in Manhattan. Funny thing about the 3rd Avenue L was that while running in Manhattan, there was express and local service on the line, which was really cool. In the 1930s and 40s, as part of the integration of different subway companies in New York City, the IRT, BMT, and IND, the 3rd Avenue and its counterparts on 2nd, 6th, and 9th Avenues came under criticism from New York Mayor Fiorello LaGuardia and his successors. The L's were regarded as blights on their communities and obsolete, since the subways were being built or were planned to replace them. The IND 6th Avenue line and the IND 8th Avenue line rendered the 6th and 9th Avenue L's obsolete, except for a small shuttle that served the polo grounds on the 9th Avenue line. They were closed closed by 1940 and demolished by 1941. The 2nd Avenue L was also gradually demolished from 1940 to 1942. When the 2nd Avenue L was closed, June 13, 1942, the weekday and Saturday Chatham Square to Freeman Street via West Farms line was rerouted via the 3rd Avenue line, running express south of 129th Street. The 3rd Avenue L was kept open because it was intended to stay in use until the 2nd Avenue subway was built to replace it. Pressure against the L from real estate interests soon began, with the creation in 1941 of the 3rd Avenue L Noise Abatement Committee, which consisted of what the New York Times described as men in the real estate business. The committee initially sought a decrease in train service, saying the noise from the L constitutes a menace to health, comfort, and peaceable home life.
That's that bullshit.
The system was closed in sections from 1950 to 1973. First, the South Ferry Spur, which connected to South Ferry to Chatham Square, was closed in 1950. This permanently closed the South Ferry Station, which had previously served all 4 IRT-L lines that originally ran in Manhattan. The Bronx Park Terminal Station was closed November 14, 1951, with morning peak and midday locals thenceforth running to Gun Hill Road, and afternoon peak locals running to Fordham Road. Morning peak local express trains started running at Fordham Road, while PM peak local express trains were extended to Gun Hill Road. Next to close was the City Hall Spur in 1953, which started at Park Row in Manhattan and then connected to the South Ferry Spur at Chatham Square. On May 12, 1955, the main portion of the line closed from Chatham Square to East 149th Street in the Bronx, ending the operation of elevated service in Manhattan. The removal was a catalyst wave of new construction, adding property values on the east side, and the head of the Real Estate Board of New York suggested that 3rd Avenue would be renamed the Bowery to symbolize the transformation. Under the MTA's 1968 program for action, plans were made for the demolition of the remaining line as part of the city's effort to remove obsolete elevated railway structures, which also saw the raising of portions of the BMT Jamaica Elevated in Queens. It was to be replaced with a parallel line along the Metro North's Harlem line right-of-way, part of the 2nd Avenue subway plan. Local residents and business owners also sought similar revival, seeing following the closure of the line's sections in Manhattan. The remaining portion in the Bronx from East 149th Street to Gun Hill Road finally closed on April 29, 1973, and demolition started on March 9, 1977. Demolition was completed by the end of 1977, along with the condemned portion of the Jamaica line. Work on the planned 2nd Avenue subway was suspended due to the 1970s fiscal crisis. In the Bronx, the 3rd Avenue L was replaced by the BX-55, only making stops that the trains made. This route was one of the first to have free transfers to and from the subway, with the 2 transfer points at the 3rd Avenue 149th Street and Gun Hill White Plains Road IRT stations, and was one of 3. The other 2 bus subway transfers were from the B35 and B42 in Brooklyn, which replaced the BMT Culver line and BMT Canarsie line respectively. With the introduction of 3 bus to subway transfers system-wide in the 1990s, the 3 routes lost their special status, although the B42 terminates in a loop inside of fare control at Rockaway Parkway. In 2013, the BX-55 was eliminated. It was partially replaced by the BX-15 Limited, which runs to West Harlem via 125th Street, but does not extend past Fordham Plaza to Gun Hill Road. By the way, just as a side note, the 8th theme is Casinopolis, the pinball stage from Sonic Adventure. I don't know if you guys remember that. As a matter of fact, I'm making this a rule right now. Anything that was in that era automatically has jazz music as its main theme. Just saying. In closing, the 8 was one of those trains I would love to have been around for. I mean, just hearing my Uncle Dave talk about it makes me want to get a time machine to send my ass back to those times. Because we all know that everything back in the day was far better than what it is now. But things like this make you appreciate the subway system. And not only that, but bring a little bit more broad look into the world of transit. One that I personally think is well needed. I gotta tell you guys, I love hearing my Uncle Dave talk about his days of rail fanning in his prime. You gotta appreciate people like that, because they got knowledge on us for days, and have damn near lived through it all. And I'm talking to the people in Generation X, Y, which is my generation, and Z, the new kids that are rail fans just getting their foot in the door. Know your role, shut your mouth, and learn. I promise you it'll help. So as far as the 8's concerned, the MTA with the 2nd Avenue subway is taking full advantage of this. Don't worry, we might have our own memories to make, guys. You never know. I mean, this is the MTA we're talking about. Anything under the sun can happen. Good or horribly craptastically bad. A rating? Nah. I don't think I need to. Something like this stands perfectly fine on its own. So with that said, this is Knuckles of the Super Subway Brothers, and you know what? I'll just let the music play out.